let's move to the Cornel West, and I do want to set up a couple of just sort of questions to kind of start the conversation that I wrote down. Let me see here. Dr. Cornel West runs for president with MPP. Now we're going to call it MPP for the sake of discussion, so we know we're talking specifically about the group with Nick Brana. So that's just make sure you know that. We're going to try to use that here. So let me share my screen and show you the Cornel West stuff here. So let's start with the announcement. I guess we can just watch the video, and then I want to insert some questions before we kind of get started to get the conversation going. But let's start with it's not too long of a video. The announcement, the announcement video right here. It's about 2.5 minutes. So let's watch it in its entirety. Then I'll insert the questions, and then we'll get right into the discussion. It feels like everybody's here for that. So let's get to it. Here is Cornel West with his announcement.
In these bleak times, I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for president of the United States as a candidate for the People's Party. I enter into quest for truth. I enter into quest for justice. And the presidency is just one vehicle to pursue that truth and justice, what I've been trying to do all of my life. I come from a tradition where I care about you. I care about the quality of your life. I care about whether you have access to a job with a living wage, decent housing, women having control over their bodies, health care for all, de-escalating the destruction of the planet, the destruction of American democracy. Democracy creates disruption. It creates an eruption. It creates an interruption. Wide from below, the energies of everyday people is manifest. And I know there are precious people in your life who you care for. That's why it's important for you to be involved, important for you to participate. I'm not talking about hating anybody. We're talking about loving. We're talking about affirming. We're talking about empowering those who have been pushed to the margins, because neither political party wants to tell the truth about Wall Street, about Ukraine, about the Pentagon, about big tech. Neo-fascists like Brother Trump, milquetoast neoliberals like Brother Biden. Wow, I'm so happy to make a world-shaking decision. You know what I mean? Well, I know gangsters when I see them. And gangster's not a subjective expression. It's an objective condition. Do we have what it takes? We shall see. But some of us are going to go down fighting, go down swinging with style and a smile, accenting the best in you and trying to tease out the best in me. Let's do it together.
Let me insert a couple of questions here to kind of get it started off. And there's 1, 2, 3, 5 questions. So the bare bones bottom line is that the Movement for a People's Party do not have ballot access in 47 states. So how is that?
They have it in 3.
That's what I've seen online. I've only been able to verify one, and that's Florida, with articles and different things. But people are saying, I've seen it multiple, like 100, a lot. That
I thought Virginia and California, states. Right?
And so then it must be Virginia, California, because I know Florida. Those are the articles that I found.
Yeah.
So the next question: does party matter or not? And if it doesn't, why not the Democratic Party? That's another question. Are working class people supposed to donate to a candidate who's not going to be on the ballot in 47 states? Who's going to donate to the People's Party after all the financial corruption that they've went through. Who's going to do that? When corporate media finds out about the allegations against Nick Brana, who started this party, how is that going to go? So those are my questions about this, because Cornel West is the candidate that everybody has been wanting to run. Everybody, a Cornel West, a Shama Sawant type character. The only thing that I would change about this ad, it would say Green Party at the end of the ad.
Thank you.
If he came out as a green, this would be a game-changing event. But the bottom line, regardless of Nick Brana, they are not on the ballot. So I want to throw it out to the group. Chime in whatever you want, what you've been waiting to say. But those are the questions I kind of want to make sure we get to. Go ahead.
May I shoot first, please? I have to get this off my chest. Okay, so here in the state of Illinois, we have very harsh draconian laws, and the Illinois Libertarian Party and the Illinois Green Party have been on my show. I've interviewed them in the field numerous times that I've lost count. And even though they are legitimate parties, they have to struggle every election year just to get enough signatures to be on the ballot. And they struggle like hell to even get on the debate stage. And they rarely even get that opportunity, even when they meet the qualifications. So my question is right now to the People's Party. You get started sometime after the 2016 primary, but come to fruition in 2020. You had all this time to start building infrastructure. But during that time, what have we been bombarded with was the People's Party? And I hate saying this about a third party because I want there to be third parties. I want there to be independent candidates. But when you have allegations of abuse, financial mismanagement, and also for the fact that whatever love that did originally come from the support for the People's Party dissipate in less than a year. I'll be generous, maybe in a year. That's how long it was ongoing. Dr. Cornel West, you have a mountain to climb. And plus, with Nick Brana, there's a lot of baggage with him. Again, CJ, you bring up the point. What happens when corporate media or the late night comedians decide to have their little laughs and go at it? Or when Majority Report or TYT have their go at it for the People's Party? It is going to end in a matter of just a few months. So many people are already talking about it and how much either one, this is a good thing. Yes, you're going with the name, but his name, Dr. Cornel West, is attached to the People's Party. Do they have a real solid infrastructure for the logistics of getting into every single state? Because each state is different for a third-party candidate. Illinois, I already mentioned what third parties have to go through. Each other state are either worse or maybe slightly a little bit better, and that's not saying much. Not to mention, if Dr. Cornel West really wants to get his name out there, hey, he's got to fight to be on the ballot or be on the debate stage. Is this Nick Brana's last hurrah for the People's Party? Because since then, ever since they made that great town hall announcement, where even Marianne Williamson participated into it, they have been under the radar. This is not how you build a proper party. And even with the Greens, with the amount of trouble and baggage that they have, it would have been far better for Dr. Cornel West, for his name, and for the third-party movement for him to be with the Greens than it is to be with the People's Party.
The question is, would the Greens have him? Right? The Greens slammed the door in Ventura's face. They were going to make him run a primary. Would if Cornel West wanted to run as a Green, maybe he could have. Maybe the People's Party said, hey, we'll put you on our ballot line where we have it, and we'll try to get it where we don't have it. All right, so here's what I think about this. First of all, Cornel West is a national treasure. I think he's a beautiful person with a big heart and a brilliant mind. His platform is by far the best of anyone who has come forward so far. You combine that Bernie agenda domestically with a critique of NATO. Disband NATO is on the platform there, so he really combines the foreign policy vision with the domestic vision. And even in a cheesy campaign announcement, when he's talking, I can't look away. Like, I just can't. Like, it's impossible to trash Cornel West. I don't have it in me to do that. I would love to support his run. However, what Nick said to Marianne Williamson applies here as well. Nick, what you said to Marianne was, hey, the working class got burned for $100 million in the Bernie Sanders campaign. Why should we invest in you? Given the People's Party's history and full disclosure, I've interviewed Nick Brana twice. I've met him. My experiences with him personally have been positive, as have my experiences with his dad. But the bottom line is, it is evident, it is self-evident, it is very, very clear that the way they have operated over these past few years have left a lot of people feeling very burned. People who know we're not infiltrators, we're not psyops, we're not feds. That's one thing. If you're going to run for president, you got to cut with those fucking bullshit excuses, okay? This is not AA Scranton Wilkes-Barre. You're running for president. This is Major League Baseball, okay? I feel like they need a Gordon Ramsay intervention where he goes into the kitchen and says, pull your head out of your ass, mate. You're failing. You're failing. They're not feds. They're volunteers. You failed them with your bullshit. Get it together or you're going to go down. That's what the People's Party needs right now. Now, because I love Cornel West and because right now, yes, Nick Brana has a lot of baggage in this community of ours, this online left space. Guess what? The country, by and large, doesn't know Nick Brana from their asshole, okay? They don't know who this guy is. So right now, if Cornel West is the candidate for president, that means that currently, outside of our little insulated online left world, right, the representative, the figurehead, who now represents the People's Party is not Nick Brana. It's Cornel West. He reps the party right now. Now, we understand that underneath that, there's a lot of issues. And those issues need to be sorted out, and it's absolutely valid to point all of those things out. It's absolutely valid to be very, very concerned. Hey, if we donate a bunch of money to this campaign, if we put money in, if we put time in, how do we know this is not just part of a branding exercise for MPP and the people who stand to benefit from it after the campaign ends? Those are all absolutely valid. But what I would say to them is they have 3 months to prove that they can do something. And they have to prove that they can fucking do something. They have a donor list still. They have people. They have donors. They have volunteers who they have burned. They owe it to their volunteers, they owe it to the people who feel burned by them to prove to them that they can actually make a serious run for this. Now, if we're not talking about winning the presidency, if they're talking about getting that 5% number for federal funding, whatever the goal is, it is incumbent upon the People's Party to make the case by Labor Day. That would be the deadline I would give them. Make the case that this is worth investing in. And I say that because I think Cornel West is someone I very much believe in. I very much believe in him. And I think one of the things that has gotten lost in this is a respect for his judgment. We say, well, how can you lend credibility to the People's Party given everything that's happened? Well, maybe he knows something. Maybe he thinks something we don't. This is a guy whose intellect I have a tremendous amount of respect for. And so I'm not willing to throw this candidacy under the bus right now. However, I will put in the caveat that the People's Party, MPP, sorry, we'll use that. I don't want to insult our friend who just became a member. MPP has a lot of explaining to do. They have a lot of convincing to do. They have a lot of goodwill to win back that they have burned through. And all the bullshit excuses about infiltration and sabotage and shit like that. Fuck you, man. Fuck you. Sorry. Money talks, bullshit walks. Coffee is for closers only. You're running for president now. Get those excuses out of here. That's something, by the way, that the left needs to learn quick, whether you're running a candidate or not. No more of this crap. No more of this crap. If you're going to run, you're going to run to win. Yes, you're going to be up against it. Yes, the media is going to... Look, the media is going to smear Cornel West no matter where he fucking runs. Right? It doesn't matter. Nick Brana's...
That's not his voters.
Right, exactly. But you gotta have a killer instinct, and you have to... If you are MPP... You have a lot of ground to cover in these 3 months. And so
47 states. Let me insert this. 47 states in a year.
But what they're going to need for that is they're going to need boots on the ground. I've seen some people saying he doesn't have ballot access, meaning Nick Brana doesn't have that access.
For the party.
He cannot get ballot access. Nick Brana cannot get ballot access. You need a lot of boots on the ground in order to get that ballot access. And you need to convince those people that they are worth investing in. And in my mind, out of respect for Cornel West, I'll give you 3 months. I'll give you until Labor Day. Get to it. Don't sleep a lot between now and then because you got a lot of ground to make up for.
Nick Brana has to walk away. He
Well,
has to
that's
exclude
another
himself
possibility.
from
Absolutely.
this. That
I
would
agree
be a
with you
way,
100%.
and I've said this before, like, MPP is a great idea. Nick Brana has to go. Like, leadership-wise, forget all the allegations. Forget
I understand.
the allegations. The financial stuff is a huge issue. A huge issue. Go ahead, Nick. I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, I was agreeing with you with what you said, and I will say this: 2024 is about to be crazy, man. It's about to be crazy.
Well, I wanted this.
I saw Savvy share a gift. Like, can you guys imagine Marianne Williamson, the meltdown that she's having in her
Oh,
support?
yeah.
Now that Dr. Cornel West, if the little
guys,
life that
it's
Marianne
only
Williamson
Marianne. It's only Marianne.
Bro, Dr. Cornel West killed a very small sliver of life that Marianne Williamson had. No one that campaign is dead. And also, Dr. Cornel West exposed the cowardice of Marianne Williamson and RFK because they wanted to run as a Democrat, and we are post-duopoly leftists. And I think it was a giant disappointment that he ran with MPP. I think he should have ran with the Green Party instead. And that's a giant missed opportunity for the third party movement. I'm gonna explain here very soon. But I will applaud him for running third party. Could you see someone who don't want to be accepted by the Democratic club? Someone who's not running for, I don't think he's running for career ambition. Do anyone think that? Like, even if we disagree with his strategy.
Of course not.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, I think we all can agree with that. Even if we disagree with his strategy, I think he's operating in good faith. I think he's doing what he thinks is best.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember, he was a speaker. I've live streamed the People's Party launch. A lot of people don't know this because this is my very early days of my YouTube channel. I was so excited for the People's Party at one point. I live streamed a 5-hour fucking launch. You can literally find it on my YouTube page. I think Ron was there. JB dropped out by a few times. I think you muted CJ, but I think that was before I knew you, CJ. But I think Rome and JB I was super excited over the People's Party, and I kind of got disappointed after seeing how everything.
No, I said I remember that day. I remember you tweeting shit. I remember that shit was.
Yeah, I was hyped, man.
Yeah, that was the convention that I think Cornel West spoke at. Was at the convention? Yeah, he spoke. He spoke there. Look, I've interviewed Nick twice. I've talked to his dad. He called into the show from his car one time when we were doing the show on the Nina Turner thing. Yeah. You know, I have not had any negative experiences with them, but it's clear. I mean, there's no question.
Sorry, Kim, but this is Marianne.
No, that's okay.
Oh, sorry. I was trying to take it off. I'll put it back on.
No, it's okay.
Show it again.
Marianne Williamson.
No, look.
Go ahead, Kim.
Right here. No. Look, I think you're right, and look, I think when it comes to his strategy, his strategic decision, we can say he should have run as a Green. He could have tried to enter their primary if he wanted to. Word inside the Green Party is that they want Hawkins again.
Oh,
okay?
God.
They want to nominate a reheated baked potato for president again.
There's going to be a fight.
Maybe there will be. Look,
I think Cornel West will win hands down. If there was a primary in the Green Party, I have no doubt he would win, like, hands down. And he's the candidate that can make the changes in the Green Party. All the shit that everybody don't like about the Green Party, he's the one that has the face and the name recognition to be like, no, I'm putting you motherfuckers on the map right now. Mm-hmm. So either you come along with what I'm saying, and then Ajamu Baraka is absolutely going to chime in, and he's going to give his influence to that. So to me, this should have been a Green Party all the way. If this was Green Party, I literally would be cheersing. We would have champagne right now.
Yeah.
Right now, we would have.
There's the big question: why did he do it? And maybe he did do it because they're kind of a skeleton organization that he can really put his stamp on and take over in a way that it would be harder to do with the Green Party, because they have their own people, they have their own insiders, and they have more of a structure. What are you dealing with to take over that party? I mean, you start at 9, you could take over by 5. So maybe that was part of why he chose to go that way. That having been said, look at what Kid is saying, and he's talking about one state.
do you really have enough of a remnant of the movement that went out for Bernie Sanders that is going to be willing to do something that would actually be harder than what they did trying to push Bernie over the top in all of these different states, to go and get this party on the ballot? Because look, you're not going for the win of the presidency. That's not on the table if you're a reasonable person. What you're going for is the 5%. What you're going for is to start chipping at that duopoly. And we on this show have talked a lot about what we would support, what we wouldn't support, and what usually comes up. We're not really at the point that we're just no electoralism whatsoever. I mean, I don't think we are. I'm not anyway. But not within the two-party system, right? It's got to be something that's going to burn that down. Okay, fair enough. Is this that? Going back to your point with Marianne, which Keaton pointed out. Yeah, we're working people, man. We're not rich dilettantes playing politics. Like, we don't have time to go fuck around with an effort that's just absolutely quixotic and doomed before it even begins. Like, can you really pull together a movement that's going to get this thing on the ballot in 50 states, even knowing, and let's not forget what we've all experienced, the system is rigged, even more so against third parties than what we experienced trying to make Bernie Sanders the president. So can you even do this?
You know, there's something else here too, especially in regards towards. I want to add a little bit onto what Russell said about my state in Illinois. Yes, it's very difficult to be on the for a third party candidate to be on the ballot, to be on the debate stage, to be secure. But also, you know, just speaking of my state alone, and in Chicago, we have an unfortunate track record of lack of election integrity in my state and of votes disappearing. Case in point, when Jimmy Dore used to be part of TYT, they were covering the 2018 midterms, and this was Marie Newman's first run at the Illinois 3rd Congressional District. And at one point, it looked like she was somewhat in the lead, and then a half hour, 40 minutes in, this was in 2018, by the way, a lot of her votes somehow disappeared. And Jenks said to Jimmy, what happened? And Jimmy just turns to, yeah, that happens in Illinois. Votes disappear. Votes disappear. Votes disappear. And in my state, yeah, I would say the same thing if we were watching the same live stream and all four of you said the exact same thing. What happened to the third party candidate ballots? So what happened to their signatures? Yeah, they disappear. Oh, they weren't signed properly. Oh, somebody didn't dot an I or cross a T.
They call that pulling a Kennedy out there, right?
Yeah.
You
know, so the thing is, like, okay, it's great to see Dr. Cornel West do this, and maybe he could reignite the People's Party, but I have to say, what is the overall end goal? Is it absolute victory to win the Electoral College and the popular votes? Because again, a third party, if we were to really talk about a real viable third party, the infrastructure should have started in 2016, and then by then we would have probably had something far more powerful than what we're getting right now.
I think the goal of this is to pull as many votes out of the duopoly as possible. Pull as many people out of the two-party system as we possibly can on the best possible set of terms. And I personally cannot think of a better person to make that argument than Cornel West.
Sure.
I can't.
Sure.
Now, you want to tell me that he made the bad choice in terms of which party to run in? Fair enough. Fair enough. Is it so egregious to dismiss it out of hand? I can't go there yet because I have too much respect for him and too much hope in his vision. I mean, I've seen people complain. He calls Biden brother Biden. Yeah, he calls Trump brother
calls
Trump.
Everybody.
Yeah. He calls Palin sister Palin. He refers to everybody as his brother and sister, whether he likes them or not, because in his mind, whether he likes you or not, you're a fellow human being, which means your fate is intertwined with his. And I think that's a beautiful way to look at the world and a beautiful way to look at humanity. And I think if we're talking long term, if we're talking about right now, okay, what is the goal in 2024? A, we want to extract as much support from these. Sorry, I almost said words I'm not allowed to say on YouTube. I don't want to get you strike too. We have to extract as many votes out of the two-party system as we can, and we have to do it on the best possible terms that we can. And I think he is a perfect candidate to do that. Do I wish you were on the green line? Sure, because then you'd have the added bonus of ballot access, and then you could really get to 5%.
You're just making everything so much harder.
You're making everything a lot harder. You're making everything a lot harder, and I think that's all valid. But I say they got 90 days. I'll give them 90 days. That's where I rule.
In 2019 me would literally be in a cold sweat. I'd be so excited. I would be dancing, singing. I'll be ready to quit my job again to campaign for this motherfucker. But I'm a different guy now.
Now your cold, dead heart will not beat.
I've been hurt.
Announcement.
I have been hurt many times. I've been disappointed many times. But also, after the failure of the Bernie movement, I told the story many times on the channel. After the failure of the Bernie movement, and after I was part of that campaign, not because I was like, I hope we win. I was like, nigga, we about to win this shit. I thought I was so delusional. I thought we was gonna win that shit. You can look at all my.
No, I thought so too.
The only reason I helped, I can emphasize this. The only reason I helped was because I thought we was gonna win that shit. And after that massive L on my part, after hyping people up like Bernie can win, I was like, man, I gotta reflect everything. So one of the things I did, as I saw Bernie Sanders supporters shift to the right. Got a bunch of Bernie supporters like, oh shit, the movement's dead, man. I will become a liberal again. Nigga, I was like, I'm doubling down and shifting to the left. I started reading Marxism and shit. You guys know the story. I was more of a social democratic socialist. Then after the failure of the social democrat movement, I was like, nigga, we gotta find new strategies. They let up off a cliff. I want to see what other successful revolutionaries have done. I want to read the idea and theories of people who actually know what left is. And that's how I come to this, my mindset now, where I'm only really interested because I'm mostly completely divested from electoral politics. I say mostly because in Missouri we got direct ballot initiatives, and I voted for that. We got legal marijuana here. We have we got affordable housing here. We had a Medicaid expansion, all because of direct ballot initiatives. These are the reason why I vote, right? This is the reason why I vote. But if I'm not seeing a continual movement based on Marxist principles, because Marx and Lenin spoke and emphasized the fact that we at our times as revolutionaries need to be building towards a revolution. It doesn't matter if it's realistic. If you say I'm not going to build toward a revolution because it's not realistic, you are not a revolutionary. All revolutionaries, no matter what their situation, should always work toward potential revolution. And that means working through outside anti-capitalist Marxist socialist parties. The Green Party is a socialist party. The People Party has multiple times stated that they are a capitalist organization. They are not socialist. So once again, I cannot betray my core beliefs. So it's a core belief of mine that you are not building a movement within a capitalist structure. It's a core movement belief of mine that you must follow the Marxist pattern of movement building, party building, class consciousness, and discipline. Without that, there will be no change. So as much, I love Dr. Cornel West. We had him on the show multiple times. I'm one of the few people he followed on Twitter. He praised me for my Substack articles. I love the guy. But I cannot in good conscience tell you guys that this is going to lead to anything substantive unless there's a movement behind it. And we all know the People's Party changed their name from the Movement for the People Party to just the People's Party. Because it's not about building a movement. It's not about building. And
they did that when they had to come up with a party name. Well, they had to actually register as a political party. Now, did they say that they're a capitalist organization or a populist organization?
They said they do not. They said they do not consider themselves a socialist.
That's why Ryan left.
And that's why I'm like,
Ryan left.
Sure thing.
Ryan literally left because their framework was pretty much being fucking.
His resignation tweet
so
said.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Go ahead.
Said like, it's my firm belief that the way forward is a socialist construct, basically. And the MPP is not about that. And that's what he said.
Sure thing. So one of the things that I would say is that in that ad, what you saw was, he talked directly to the camera. He showed a clip of him on Bill Maher. He showed a clip of him on Joe Rogan. That's something that the People's Party has tried to brand themselves as this sort of populist, sort of top-down type of organization. No, I don't think they are a Marxist organization. And so, if that's where your coming from, then I think, you know, it's totally fair to have that critique. And like I said, I would not advise anyone to give any money to that campaign until they prove themselves. Once again, to make the Gordon Ramsay situation. Clean this fucking kitchen by tomorrow morning. Like, they have to clean up a lot of shit. What's that?
Sorry.
Yeah, bring your statement up. Bring your
Yeah,
statement
because I
up.
want to round it up.
Go ahead.
I know I was long-winded this shit because I actually had
No, that's fine. No, go ahead.
I explained why I personally don't believe it's going to lead to anything substantive in terms of building a revolution. But I do find it interesting. Like, you guys probably see my tweets. This story of Dr. Cornel West running in the MPP is going to make 2024 absolutely glorious. Now, I don't think it's going to be any substantive change to the working class, but having someone of the esteem of Dr. Cornel West calling out Biden the way he is, I saw in the Chris Hedge Substack article, he calling out the Ukraine war, which is something I was like, man,
of course.
I see Cornel West say some really weird shit about Ukraine. That was the first thing I looked up, and in the interview, it seemed like he got it right. So I'm gonna keep watching that because he said some weird shit on Ukraine before. But if you read the Chris Hedge's Substack article, like you said, CJ, man, if this motherfucker ran green, man, he was spitting. Like read the Chris Hedge's article, he was spitting.
But even if he ran green,
I mean, you're right. If he ran green, I would personally, I don't know about Keaton. I mean, I would probably want us to be backing that effort.
well, then it'd be no question. I mean, it'd be a no-brainer if he ran green. I mean, that's a no-brainer. They have ballot access, and what do they have? 40 states, something like that.
Greens have party access too. I would vote for these motherfuckers.
And they get up to like 44 because some of the states they have to
they have to keep
sure, but look.
Recently, go ahead.
Fundamentally, whether he's as a Green or as an MPP, right? Fundamentally, his campaign, wherever he ran it, is not going to transcend the limitations of electoral politics.
That's it.
It's not going to, no matter what. So, like, no matter where he runs, that's not the revolution, right? But I think an integral step forward in just re-educating the masses and deprogramming them from this two-party system, which is the crux of this little show that we've got going here on episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from the Democrats and divest from the GOP and put those votes in Cornel West's column, I think on election day that's a fucking worthwhile endeavor. I do, no matter what fucking party he's running for. I think that.
I do make a distinction because when I do have a little pushback on this is not, if this was a Green, this would be a movement. This would be a movement if this was, because again, the movement, as Nick just pointed out, is running outside of the two corporate capitalist parties. And if the Green establishes a certain threshold, that means we are in a different stratosphere that we have not been in since, I can't even think back to since the Whigs, where the third party has sort of taken control in that way. So I do think if he ran as Green, like if he got the nomination and ran as Green, I think that would be game changing. I think Ajamu Baraka would probably get some sort of a title or some sort of offer to be on his campaign.
God,
you're absolutely right. Yeah, but what would have to happen in order for him to catch on?
Let's go key and then kid, just for order.
Sure. Look, if for him to catch on as a Green and get 5%, he'd have to catch fire, right? He would have to catch fire. Now, is the Green Party infrastructure enough to bolster that much more than MPP's is? Not really, because you're talking about a mass movement coming behind him. So that's what I would argue. In the eyes of most people, like
they're on ballots in 40 states.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a huge difference. Like we're literally talking about two campaigns, and if the campaigns were cars, one of the cars don't have any tires or wheels.
No, I understand.
One of them doesn't have it, and the other one does. Whether the wheels are flat, you can roll the car. You get what I'm saying?
That's it. You have to get through the obstacle of getting on the ballots before even getting to
right. The car doesn't have tires.
Okay, all right. So first, CJ, Keaton, you both are correct. I want to bring up something before DueDissidence at RBN ever got into the YouTube platform. First of all, in 2017, early 2018, my colleague Daniel and I covered a lot of Libertarian and Green Party events here in the state of Illinois in the aftermath of 2016. Now, during that one convention that we covered for the Illinois Green Party, there were a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters coming in. The key issue here is that an opportunity was lost, the infrastructure to build a movement. Now, at the state level, the Illinois Green Party here in Illinois in 2010 was a legitimate political party for 2010, and then they literally crapped the bed. They lost the opportunity and came right back to their normal status. It's because there was never an afterthought of what would happen when the infrastructure is built. And what Dr. Cornel West or whoever's going to be running as a third-party individual or candidate, you have to have a plan of when your candidacy is done. And that's something Daniel and I asked the Illinois Green Party. You have all these Bernie Sanders supporters here. You have a chance to build a movement. Are you building infrastructure? Are you putting it all in for one candidate and then just literally ignoring it? Because you could build a movement, but sometimes key figureheads, either they get too old, they have health problems, or their heart is no longer in the fight. It is about having a system in place in order to continue the movement on. And I think right now, what we're all saying is, hey, it's great seeing Dr. Cornel West running for as a third party candidate. I don't maybe like that he's with the People's Party, but the bigger problem is that third parties, and this goes for all third parties, and I say this as a supporter of third parties, is that they have never really caught on to the fact of we have to keep on building even when no one is paying us a goddamn attention. And that's the thing. It's always a name and a brand. So if Dr. Cornel West is truly running for the People's Party, his main objective is to get 5% of the vote, but also get the 15% of the overall public approval for him to be on the debate stage, so that there is an infrastructure put in place for 8 years down the road for a potential third-party candidate. If we really want to talk about building a movement outside the two-party system, then this is the time where the Greens, yes, including the People's Party, Libertarians, all political parties need to start building up. They lost that chance with the remnants of the Bernie Sanders movement in 2016 because no one had the foresight. And that's why Daniel and I kept on asking this question to a lot of these people who no longer talk to us, because we kept on saying, okay, person X, person Y, person Z is running for office. What happens then when the election is over? Because we know that third parties aren't going to make it too far in Illinois.
Sure
And I'm
thing.
just talking about my state. On the national level, it's a bigger question. How are you going to build and maintain a national movement when said election is over and Americans get bored? That's something that needs to be done. So Keaton, CJ, you both bring up good points. I just think I just want to reiterate to my point right here, and that is the opportunity was lost because people who were in positions of power never had the foresight to see what would happen after 2016.
No, that's
an
absolutely
issue.
right. That is absolutely right, and I think CJ and everybody's absolutely right. I would like to see him run as a Green, obviously, because it just makes that climb a lot shorter. But when it comes to branding, like, this is a question that I think is really important. When it comes to the toxicity of the MPP brand, I'm not as hung up on that for a very simple reason. Okay, real quick, off the top of everybody's head. Who was DNC chair in 2008?
In 2008?
Wasserman Schultz?
Howard
Was that
Dean?
Wasserman Schultz? Oh, no, I don't know.
Was it still?
Yeah.
I don't know. Nobody really knows, right? You know why? Because no one fucking cares. Because the head of the Democratic Party in 2008 was Barack Obama. So as far as the general public is concerned right now, the head of the People's Party is Cornel West. Fuck this Nick Brana shit. Nobody's gonna give a shit about
but
that.
you're only
Most people
addressing
don't know
the
who the fuck he
personality
is.
part. You're only addressing the personality. You're not addressing the financial part of Nick Brana being. You get what I'm saying? You're saying.
That's why I said. Well, that's why that was my whole thing earlier. No, that was my whole thing earlier. I said yes. The organization underneath him has a lot to prove. Has a lot to prove.
Well, but
And that's why I'm
I'm
saying.
less on the personality.
Yeah, but
I'm less about his personality. I'm more about the financial part, like working people donating to this guy that paid $20,000 for.
That-
I agree
that's-
with you
what are we doing?
100%. I
That's-
agree with no, but I just want to make this 100% clear. I agree with you 100% on that, which is why, out of respect for Cornel West and out of respect for the vision that he brings to people and the opportunity to get people to divest from the two-party system and vote for him on Election Day, for whatever that's worth. It's not the revolution, as Nick says. You're absolutely right about that, Nick. It's not the revolution. But in the hopes of doing that at least, I would give them 90 days to clean the mold off the stove, right? If I'm Gordon Ramsay, I go in there, you have 24 hours to clean this fucking place up if you want people to invest in it. I would give them that.
Well, yeah, because
don't-
remember, people outside this space
They don't
might
know who the
not
fuck
know
this
this,
guy is.
but
Fuck
he's
Nick
got to
Braddock.
build his base out of the people in this space.
That's what I
who
mean.
are very aware.
Exactly.
Of
No,
this
exactly.
history.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, I'm letting everybody know about his shit. Go ahead, Nick.
No, exactly.
Go ahead.
No, as you should. That's fine. Yeah. No argument there. And he probably should just step down. If he really cares about the movement and he cares about Cornel West, he should just step down and let somebody else do it. Just let somebody else do it. This way all that baggage goes away, or at least, most of it.
I said that quite a long time ago, Ken, when we did our initial analysis on the People Party. Like, if you really care about the movement, why do you have to be in charge?
Right. Why you got to
be
in charge?
We had the conversation all the time about leaderless movements.
Exactly.
Like RBN, we don't have an annoying leader. Why do you have to be the leader? Why can't you step down? Like, the fact that he's not doing that is kind of weird. But any other thing on the topic? I actually have a few further parts of this story I want to get to, because I know we got the RFK story next. But I have a few things I want to cover on this story. But any last thoughts on this topic before I kind of shift gears?
Yeah. So
go ahead.
I just want to put this out here for all third parties. These coming next few days, throughout the next months of this summer, will be very critical for everyone to get their name on the map. I know Larry Sharp recently, a few weeks ago, did a Libertarian Presidential town hall on his channel. Third parties overall, if you're very serious about this, then don't screw around with all of us, especially when you start coming onto our shows. Because when we ask you to be on our shows, when we ask you to maybe, I don't know, host a potential third-party debates with whoever your nominees will be, then have the, I don't know, courage and backbone to actually show up. Because when and maybe it's a little bit off subject, but when I reached out to the Libertarian Party, the Green Party for the national candidates, and yes, even Mark Charles, who was running as an independent, not affiliate. The only person who got back to me was Mark Charles. The Illinois, the National Libertarian Party and the National Green Party. You know what they said to me? We're waiting to get on the main debate stage with Biden and Trump. That's never going to happen.
What?
Yes, they said that to me.
Really?
They said both parties, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. Where the hell are you coming off with this initial statement of trying to get on the debate stage with Biden and Trump? That's not going to happen. So third parties, Libertarians, Greens, People's Party, whoever you're going to be, Dr. Cornel West, if you're listening to this, if RBN, DueDissidence, Hard Lens Media, either individually or we do a joint live stream all together, if we ask for a third-party presidential debate live on all streaming platforms, show up. If you're authentic about really fighting, then show us how serious you are, because Dr. Cornel West, Greens and Libertarians, you're never going to get on the main stage, whoever the Democratic or Republican nominee will be it Biden, Trump, or whoever. So be authentic and show up on independent media, and don't play the screw around game with us, because I goddamn well nearly lost my mind when I read those two emails from the Libertarians and Greens way back in goddamn 2020. So shout out to Mark Charles, who's the only one who said, yeah, I'll show up.
Well, we'll tell them if they don't show up, we're going to do a little sock puppet with their name written on it.
Yeah,
and we'll
put words in their mouth.
Put words in their mouth.
Zoya's love, Zoya life. Big shout out to our honorary RBN member. I saw this while you guys were talking. I have a small presentation to do on my part of the Dr. Cornel West story that is slightly different than the MP conversation. That's why I wanted to save it for last. So this is apparent. I literally just saw this. I didn't watch it. I saw this literally while you guys were talking. This is CNN responding to Dr. Cornel West's run, and they said they were monitoring.
They noticed it.
Let's listen. Let's listen to this. And this actually, I'm glad I found this clip, because this is going to prove a point I'm going to make here very soon. So let's check this out.
Cornel West, progressive scholar,
I don't count bad.
Today said he's going to mount a third-party run for president against Biden. I mean, these things can really disrupt a few percentage points here and there in the way this country's split. Wow, how big of a worry is this for Biden? Well, right now they're monitoring it. And particularly in the short term for the Democratic primary, Robert F. Kennedy, they are trying to, make sure that the 20% doesn't grow, but they just don't know. Frankly, privately pretty confident that he's not going to get to the point where there's going to be a real threat to Joe Biden.
It seems like you don't really believe that.
Cornel West development today is different, because he says he is, as you mentioned, going to mount a third-party run. What that means is that in the general election, he could siphon off Democratic votes from
Good.
President Biden. And
In Florida, too, if they got ballot access in Florida, there you go. Not that they're going to need it. The Republicans will win Florida anyway. Virginia.
So, the obvious conclusion you have, if your mind is not broken by U.S. propaganda, is if you do not want to lose an election and lose by the slim margin, is that you negotiate and give what the third-party activists want so you can get their support. But they blame the third-party activists for that. So I found this interesting. I want to play it live. Any take on the CNN meltdown before I move on? This point is actually important to what I'm about to cover. But any take.
Well, it's just interesting how they don't even make an attempt to pretend that they're anything more than courtiers to the White House. I mean, that's all they are. Like you could see, it doesn't occur to them that projecting concern for the White House and for Joe Biden is unprofessional. That doesn't occur to them because the meaning of professional has been so bent. A
black man with good politics has entered the race. This is terrible.
This is bad for Joe Biden. This could really hamper his coronation. It doesn't even occur to them that projecting concern is not their job, right?
Well, this is the part where they're monitoring it. You know what that means? We're doing Oppo research. This is where the Nick Brana shit is going to come out. This is the shit that I'm talking about. If you think this shit, if the poll comes out and it show Cornel West with 10, 15, 20 percentage points, I'm telling you, they're going to go after the people they need to go after.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to squash it.
Yeah. They're not right now. They're smiling because they're not actually taking it seriously. This is a segment like this is just clickbait for their zombies. Oh, God damn it, that Cornel West.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't he know we have to get behind Joe Biden? That's for those people.
There will be something interesting, though. Whoever it is, as a third-party candidate, be it Greens, Libertarians, or People's Party, or whoever, if they were to get the coveted 5% or above in a national election, that would be something unheard of in the years of American politics that I have seen, that all of us have seen collectively, to where, it could be the signaling of the beginning of the end for the two-party system. Maybe not the full death blow that we want, because everything happens through time. It takes steps to get to where we want to get to, but it is something to see. And whichever third party is able to fully get to that threshold, it breaks the narrative that corporate media and the two-party system have had for some time. Now it matters of just can a third party maintain it? Because as soon as you have a third party break the system, the DNC and RNC as antibodies will quickly try and get rid of the cause of the problem.
Well, that's it. If he actually really started to get momentum and stick around for a while, it's going to be a very different image on that CNN screen. She's not going to be smiling.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
The knives will come out very fast.
So this is the CNN segment was liberals melting down over Cornel West declaring third party, and that's kind of what I want to highlight as well, because I think it is extremely funny. You also have this is what I see in ton. You see Cornel West, his tweet is viewed by 10 million people. So you have people who hate the People Party that's melting down his mentions, but you also have liberals melting down his mention. And this is the mindset of the people who claim they're pro-democracy. The only possible outcome of your candidacy is a fascist victory.
Where's Rob Reiner? Where's Rob Reiner?
Yeah, right.
Hang on, kids. We're going to get you out of those cages. That's what he tweeted out.
I put this in a private chat because Sabby put it in a group that I just saw. I don't know if we want to watch it. It's long. It might not be worth it. You guys might want to do it some other time. But
it's probably high comedy, I gotta say.
Shit.
Kyle and Crystal.
My presentation's not going to take too long. You're talking about the cow.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
It's going to be tough to get through.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I didn't know you.
I'll leave it to you. It's your call.
I mean, it looks pretty fucking funny because they're so
we got to cover that.
They're so ridiculous because they keep doing these videos that are like, What are they doing? Like Lance Bass and Malibu Barbie do political commentary? What is that shit?
Now,
I mean, it might be too long. It's up to you guys.
Now I'm very interested in watching the video. That's why I leave it to CJ for the call, because I know we still have to cover RFK. It's gonna be very interesting because there's another. I'm very glad you brought that up, because there's another part of this segment I want to bring up as well, because CJ and many people I agree with is bringing up the criticisms of running within the People's Party, which I think is very smart and legit, and important to bring up. These are legitimate criticisms. But you also see the most unserious people in politics. Because CJ is.
Oh, here we go. Let's go.
Uh-oh.
CJ is a strong believer in implementing the right strategy. So CJ is allowed to have the criticism of Dr. Cornel West that he has. Meanwhile, today has been doomsday for Marianne Williamson. This is the apocalypse for the Vanguard. This is the apocalypse for all the Marianne Williamson stands. So they gotta find a way to criticize Dr. Cornel West, but being the liberals that these people are, they don't care about intellectual consistency. Not at all. So I found one, because these are the biggest, most shameless Marianne Williamson simps that you can possibly find, right? The Vanguard. And I've seen many of them, because I know the people who support Marianne. I've seen so many Marianne Williamson supporters type this out. Love you, Dr. West, but with all due respect, the Tea Party is right there and needs a good candidate such as yourself to get 5%. Running, remember, this is a Marianne Williamson supporter, guys.
Right.
Running with the People Party is unserious and beneath you. Marianne Williamson supporters. So apparently, according to the Vanguard, and according to Marianne Williamson supporters, running as a member of the People Party is unserious. So you better run in an imperialist, capitalist party where all your primaries is rigged. Then you become a serious candidate.
Right.
So you have all these Marianne Williamson supporters who have no criticism, 100% okay with Marianne Williamson running as a Democrat, but now they're melting down over people running over Dr. Cornel West running over MPP. And once again, have no criticism of CJ's criticism, right? But I hate inconsistencies and double standards. So why, according to the Vanguard and the many Marianne Williamson supporters I've seen, why is this such a bad move that Dr. Cornel West run as a member of the MPP, but Marianne Williamson run as a Dem is okay? RFK supporters, I don't think there's a lot of them, but the few that said the same thing. RFK run as a Democrat is the same? You guys see how morally inconsistent they are? Maybe, just maybe Dr. Cornel West running as a member of the MPP will be okay to the Vanguard if Dr. Cornel West invited them to their wedding, right?
Right.
So that's another. This is one of the hypocrisies I want to bring up, because
the difference is when you run, and this answers one of CJ's first questions that he asked, which is, does party matter? The reason it matters to run third party versus Democrat is that if you announce as a third party candidate and you vow to be on the ballot in November, whether it's in one state, if Cornel West is on the ballot in Virginia, Democrats are going to be shitting bricks, because that's a fairly close Florida state too, that they're supposed to win, right? CNN doesn't give a fuck about Marianne Williamson. They mock Marianne Williamson. They mock RFK. You know why? Because neither of them are going to be on the ballot in November. Neither of them are. On the day it all goes down, they're not going to be siphoning votes from Joe Biden. If Cornel West is on the ballot in the state of Virginia, he's going to be taking votes away from Joe Biden. That makes him a threat to the status quo, no matter what fucking dipshit party he's on. And that's why those faces on CNN, they're a little more anxious talking about Cornel West than they are talking about Marianne.
Can I add a little something in here? Because, Nick, you talk about consistency. I shared this in our group chat, but we all remember Peter Dow. You know, on today is June 5th of 2023 at 5:29 a.m. in the merry morning of Monday. He retweeted out a political polls which had Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Ron DeSantis, and Marianne Williamson. And he went on to say, in this poll, 4 candidates, Marianne Williamson has by far the best policy platform, including universal health care, reparations, an economic bill of rights, and meaningful climate action. To which I got to say, well, wait a minute. Didn't he tweet out some time ago that we need a strong third party?
We
Then
can't
he
trust the
tweet out-
people the people that got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Me and CJ talk about we don't.
Yeah.
These people like
I was holding back.
I say this because the biggest thorn, and this is my opinion, as someone who's been a third party activist since 2016. So what? 7 years, 8 years. I've seen like the strategy that us third party activists has been using has been very shitty. Like we strongly believe the 2-party duopoly is evil. But hey, it's okay if you support Democrats, support Republicans. It's all good. We all want to be family. At what point do third-party activists say we got to advocate for third parties and aggressively push back against people who don't? Because I used to be one of those people. I used to be like, y'all voting green, but I don't really care who you vote for. At what point do we say? At what point do we treat people voting Democrats the same way you would vote someone if you said they were voting Republican? Imagine if I was like, yeah, man, I'm voting for Trump next election. You'd be like, nigga, what? At what point do we have third-party activists? We do the same for people who vote Democrat. The people who are supporting both sides. At a certain point, at third-party activists, we got to draw the line. And they haven't been doing it. That's why Howie Hawkins got 0.3%. That's why Jill Stein got 1%. Because third-party activists are trying to be friends with duopoly supporters. Nigga, I mean, you guys clearly see with RBN's coverage, if you're part of duopoly, we don't care about being your friend, your family, your friend. None of that. And you guys what ideas, and then we invite you on. We can be friends on this shit, right?
That's that Marxist discipline. I'm gonna I've been trying to be nice because he was such a rare convert from the Hillary camp, but I got to go back to calling him Peter Douche because the other day he tweeted out such a disingenuous not really defensive Marianne, but like clearly for whatever reason she must have asked him. So this was very slippery. He used very specific language that he didn't say exactly that he was released from the NDA. He said that he was given permission to discuss the campaign. So what does that mean exactly? Yeah, and then he goes on this
story to point out. He was given a story to put out.
Exactly. But you notice he seems to be drawing the line at, I'm not going to say nice things about Marianne because he never does. He the closest he came was, there's always drama on a campaign, but he would not say, look, you can put it to bed very simply, at least in terms of what you observed. I never saw anything like that on the He wouldn't say that.
Right.
And everything positive.
What's a cell phone in the eye between colleagues?
Hey, especially a nice phone.
Yeah.
Sorry,
go ahead.
He talked about the platform. He talked about the people working on the campaign. This is what was really quite transparent bullshit to me because, the Daily Beast said 10 people quit. And he claimed it was because he restructured and they didn't like the financial arrangement. Maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people. 10 people quit because of that? Really? 10? With the history you have on these campaigns, I'm not buying it. So what game is he playing? And then he comes out, like Kit was saying, with this poll, like, what are you trying to keep 1 foot in and 1 foot out, like kind of stay in her good graces? Did she threaten to send Zool to drag you to hell? Like, what are you afraid of, man? It seems like he's trying to play both sides.
Yeah, I don't trust these. Like people who support Marianne Williamson was aggressively Marianne Williamson supporters. They took a massive L, and coming up here. But let me read this Rumble rant that I caught. Appreciate the Rumble rant. And Janice, he said, fairvote.org and open debates hosted third-party debates for several election cycles. I haven't seen that, but we need to see. I want to see a debate between Cornel West, RFK, and Marianne, just because I want to see the political drama. I want to see Marianne. Actually, for maximum chaos, throw Nikki Haley in there. I want to see Marianne Williamson and Nikki Haley go on 2-on-2 against RFK and Dr. Cornel West on Ukraine. That's the kind of shit I want to see. But anyway, I'm gonna get to the last part of my story, and then I'll pass to you, CJ. Because the very last point I want to make that also shows why Marianne Williamson and RFK supporters, honestly, are in shambles. Because what was the excuse that Marianne Williamson supporters used to make? Oh man, I know she has to run as a Dem. You have no choice but to run as a Democrat. That's what Marianne Williamson supporters told themselves so they sleep at night for supporting the fascist Democratic Party. Now, I'm going to tell you guys straight up front. The people that say you have to run as a Democrat in order to get attention, or people who want attention from Democrats. They are Democrats and they were praised by the club. And they don't want to leave the club. That's it at the end of the day. My theory has always been that as long as you have a pretty powerful name, a powerful message, you can kickstart a third party, which is why we're extremely frustrated. Can you imagine this moment for Green Party or any upstart socialist or third party in general? This would be amazing ass. And what happened today completely exposed the cowardice of RFK and Marianne, because Dr. Cornel West announced a run for president as a third party, and my screenshot is actually outdated. He's trended number 1. Dr. Cornel West, the third party candidate, trended number 1. But according to Vanguard and Marianne Williamson supporters, you can't run as third party because they will ignore you. Meanwhile, we just saw the CNN clip where
Marianne is the queen of TikTok, so that I know.
Yeah,
that's Trump's Twitter.
According to anti-third party people, me, aka Democrats, you can't run third party because if you don't, there'll be no traction. No one will report on you. Meanwhile, this directly proves that wrong. Because imagine if Dr. Cornel West ran the Green Party, because you see, People's Party is trending as well. And if you click this People Party, at one point they combined it. At one point, Dr. Cornel West was number 2, and People's Party was like number 5. Nigga, the People Party was number 5 trending nationwide because of Dr. Cornel West, and the whole Trim tab was filled with a bunch of people saying, "Yo, this is why the People Party fucking sucks."
Yeah, it was all bad stuff.
So imagine if we had this situation with a socialist party, where the people are like, Dr. Cornel West is wrong, but this party, let me look into that. But instead, people look into the People's Party and they are seeing trash, which is why this was a bad decision by Cornel West. So the theory of anti-third party activists is that you shouldn't run third party because you won't get attention. It's a waste of time. Meanwhile, our theory has always been, and correct me if I'm wrong, CJ, our theory has always been, if you get a big name, someone who's serious with a good platform, you can use that to start your party. Imagine a good party with no holes like the People Party, with training. People will start signing up like, oh wait, Dr. Cornel West supports this party. What's? Let me look at their website. Let me see what they're about. But instead, everyone talk about Nick Bronner now. You got to see
the only thing I can think is what I was saying. I think he looked at it like there's the only sense I can make of it. People already have made up their mind of what the Green Party is and what they think it is. And he wanted to be able to just introduce himself fresh, because outside of our circles, let's face it, nobody even knows what the fuck this party is. Nobody's heard of it. Exactly. So he does have an opportunity to define it in a way that he couldn't with the Greens, or he'd have a very hard time doing with the Greens.
I think the Green Party, I said it during our third party summit, I think the Green Party just changed their fucking name. They should do a fucking relaunch. Like,
they should.
Relaunch.
No, they absolutely should.
The Howie Hawkins shit, the relaunch the party, like we talked to Ajamu, Mark Kimberly's against Howie Hawkins as well. Especially among the Black caucus in the Green Party, there's a massive anti-Howie Hawkins movement, which gives me hope, because I was like, man, the Green Party really fucked shit up with Howie Hawkins. So they have made that adjustment, but I think the Green Party should change their fucking name, because I asked them about that during the third party summit, and they said they don't want to change their name because they want to maintain solidarity with international Greens. Nah, nigga, that shit is done. After the Ukraine war, after all the shit, the Germany Green Party, the England Green Party, no, change the fucking name, rebrand the party, relaunch the party, and that would be a success. And put back if you guys disagree, but I think if you relaunch the party, name it, I don't know, I'm not good at name. CJ, no, I'm not good at name. But name it like Socialist Party, some fucking shit, Workers Party, some shit like that.
Joe Rogan dick riding party.
New leader, and didn't do it. That shit would be fire. But anyway, go ahead, guys. If you want to chime in, that's my last point on the segment, by the way. So CJ, you can take after this.
Yeah, we'll get a couple of words.
The Jill Stein Dadaist folk music emporium party.
No, what I think. I mean, look, what I would say to that is that if he gets to a point where there is enough energy behind him to the point where he is actually going to get 5%, which means 1 out of every 20 voters in November of next year goes into a booth and pulls the lever for Cornel West. If he's going to get the energy behind him to make that happen, I think the party he is associated with is going to be less important than we in the online left world think it is now. Because when we see People's Party, we think Nick Branagh. We have flashes in our heads of all the Twitter shit and all the drama surrounding him and the People's Party. You're talking about building this out to the point where you reach the general population, which doesn't know anything about any of this stuff. I think those concerns, in the grand scheme of things, are going to be relatively minor. Ultimately, it's on him to make the case. And in the short term, you're absolutely right. It is on the People's Party to make the case that they are worth the investment. And with the Green Party, you don't have that hurdle, which is why, yes, I would agree fully. In an ideal world, he'd have run with them. Absolutely. I don't think there's any question about that.
If the Greens want to be relevant, they got to ditch Howie Hawkins. As someone who's interviewed him a few times, he is uninspiring, and he just reminds me of that chicken from Futurama that was that lawyer. He's got to go.
Super Chat's terrible that night. Terrible. Horrible.
but he has
dead as dog shit.
Yeah. The Green Party as an institution. When I spoke to Howie Hawkins way back in 2020, he was against Julian Assange. He was viewing, again, this is almost peak Russiagate. Green Party, fix your image. And maybe again to Keaton's point, if you're going to run with the Greens, you have that baggage of the Greens being crapped on by corporate media with the People's Party.
Kid, I interviewed Howie Hawkins. I interviewed Howie Hawkins, and CJ, you saw it. People that was there during when I
you lost your soul.
I interviewed Howie Hawkins.
Anything about baggage with Greens, baggage with MPP. All this talk about baggage, we're talking about a very small slice of the population that even knows what this baggage is. We're talking about getting 1 in every 20 voters on election day. No, but in terms of baggage, in terms of Hawkins, in terms of all the internal politics
the Hawkins
I don't think the
this is all
matters.
niche stuff.
When people think Green, they think Jill Stein.
Or
because the
Nader,
media made
right.
sure of it.
Ralph
to
Nader,
blame 2016 on Jill
Ralph
Stein.
Nader, Jill Stein.
I think the bottom line is when it comes to a run like this, you have to inspire a lot of people. 5% seems like a small number, but it's not a small number when you talk about a national race. You got to inspire a lot of people to say, fuck this shit, fuck the Democrats, fuck the GOP, fuck the media,
even if it
fuck them
means
all.
the Republicans winning.
You have to get a certain number of people to say, the hell with all of this, I'm voting for Cornel West. Period. It's a Molotov cocktail through the, window, just in the way that Trump was. You got to get people to say that. It falls to the candidate to do that. It falls to the organization behind them to convince people in the early stages to put some money up, put some time in. MPP has a lot of convincing to do. They have cost themselves a lot of goodwill over the past few years. They have a short period of time to make that up. Can they do it? That's up to them. That's the way I see it.
I don't think they can. It's just,
Yeah, you could very well be right. You could very well be right. Absolutely.